Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Titan and looked out at the stars. The massive ship moved slowly through space near the edge of human territory. Jake had been captain for 3 years now. He was 42 years old with gray hair and calm blue eyes. The crew trusted him completely. The Titan was the biggest warship Earth had ever built. It was 2 miles long and carried 1,500 crew members. The ship had thick armor and powerful weapons. Most important of all, it had the new quantum drive that could jump across space faster than any other ship. Jake walked over to his command chair. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of computers. The night shift was on duty. Most of the crew was sleeping in their quarters below. "Captain," called Lisa Park from her station. She was the communications officer, a young woman with short black hair. "I'm getting something strange on the long-range sensors." Jake turned toward her. "What kind of something?" Lisa frowned at her screen. "It looks like a signal, but it's not human. The computer is trying to decode it now." "Put it on the main screen," Jake said. The big screen at the front of the bridge flickered. Strange symbols appeared and disappeared, quickly. The signal was weak and full of static, but there was something about it that made Jake feel cold. "Can you clean it up?" he asked. Lisa worked at her controls for several minutes. Slowly, the signal became clearer. The symbols were beautiful, but alien. They seemed to glow with their own light. "I think it's a distress call," Lisa said quietly. "The computer is matching it against known alien languages." Jake felt his heart beat faster. Earth had contact with only 3 alien races. The Kepler Union were traders who sold rare metals. The Vegan Republic made art and music, and the Zorathians were new friends who had shared their shield technology with humans just 2 years ago. "Got it," Lisa said suddenly. "It's Zorathian. The translation is coming through now." New words appeared on the screen in English. Jake read them and felt sick. "Emergency transmission from Zephyria Prime. We are under attack. Repeat, we are under attack. The Vraxx have come. They are destroying everything. Our ships are falling. Our cities are burning. We have maybe days before complete destruction. Any friendly species who receives this message, please help us. We are dying." The bridge went completely silent. Everyone stared at the screen. Jake had met Zorathian ambassadors before. They were peaceful people who looked like tall humans made of living crystal. Their skin glowed softly with inner light. They were artists and scientists who had never hurt anyone. "How far is Zephyria Prime?" Jake asked. Navigation Officer Sam. Taylor checked his instruments. Sam was a thin man with nervous hands who knew every star chart by memory. 17 light years, sir. With the quantum drive, we could be there in 3 days." Jake thought hard. The Zorathians had been good to Earth. When human colonies were attacked by space pirates, the Zorathians had sent medical supplies and rescue ships. They asked for nothing in return except friendship. But Jake had never heard of the Vraxx before. Any enemy that could attack the Zorathians' homeworld had to be very dangerous. The Zorathians had advanced technology and strong defenses. "Lisa, send a message to Earth Command," Jake ordered. "Tell them about the distress call. Ask for orders." "Yes, sir," Lisa said. She sent the message, but then shook her head. "It will take 6 hours for the signal to reach Earth. Another 6 hours for a reply to come back. 12 hours. The Zorathians might be dead by then." Commander Ryan Bell stepped forward. He was Jake's second in command, a big man with steady hands and sharp eyes. "Captain, I know what you're thinking, but we're just one ship. We don't know what we're flying into." "The Zorathians are our allies," Jake said. "They've helped us before." "And I respect that," Ryan replied. "But the Titan carries 1,500 people. We have families waiting for us at home. We can't risk everyone for a battle we might not win." Jake understood Ryan's concern. It was the right military thinking, but sometimes being right and being good were different things. Chief Engineer Amy Stone joined the conversation. She was a small woman with red hair and grease under her fingernails. Amy knew every bolt and wire on the ship. "The quantum drive is ready, Captain. We've been testing it for months. It can handle the jump." "What about weapons and shields?" Jake asked. Amy nodded. "All systems are running perfectly. The new plasma cannons are charged. The railguns have full ammunition. Our shields are the best in the fleet." Jake looked around the bridge. He saw the faces of his crew. Some looked worried. Others looked ready to fight. All of them were waiting for his decision. "Lisa, is the Zorathian signal still coming in?" "Yes, sir. It's getting weaker, but it's still there. They're updating their situation every few minutes." "What's the latest?" Lisa's voice was quiet. "The Vraxx have destroyed half their defense fleet. Ground forces are attacking their cities. They're asking any ship in range to help evacuate civilians." Jake closed his eyes and thought about his daughter back on Earth. She was 16 years old and wanted to join the Space Navy when she graduated. What kind of galaxy did he want to leave for her? One where humans helped their friends, or one where they only looked out for themselves? He opened his eyes and looked at Ryan. "Commander, what do we know about human military history?" Ryan looked confused. "Sir? When has humanity been at its best? When have we done things that made us proud?" Ryan thought for a moment. "When we helped others, even when it was dangerous. When we stood up to bullies. When we protected people who couldn't protect themselves." Jake nodded. "The Zorathians are crystal people who make beautiful art. They've never hurt anyone. They shared their technology with us because they wanted to be friends. Now something evil is trying to destroy them." He turned to face the whole bridge crew. "I know this is dangerous. I know we might not come back. But if we don't try to help, who will? If Earth won't stand up for its friends, then what kind of people are we?" The bridge was quiet for a long moment. Then Amy Stone spoke up. "I say we go, Captain. The Titan is the toughest ship ever built. If anyone can help the Zorathians, it's us." Sam Taylor nodded. "Navigation is ready, sir. I can plot a course that gets us there in minimum time." One by one, the other officers agreed. Even Ryan Bell finally nodded. "You're right, Captain. We can't let our friends die without trying to help." Jake felt proud of his crew. These were good people who understood what was important. "All right, then," he said. "Sound general quarters. Wake up the crew and prepare for combat. We're going to Zephyria Prime." The alarm bells began to ring throughout the ship. In minutes, the Titan came alive with activity. Crew members ran to their battle stations. Weapons powered up. Shields activated. Jake sat in his command chair and watched the stars ahead. Somewhere out there, people were dying. Evil was winning. But not if he could help it. The Titan's massive engines roared to life. The quantum drive began to charge. In a few minutes, they would jump across 17 light years of space to fight an unknown enemy. Jake hoped they would arrive in time. He hoped they would be strong enough. Most of all, he hoped that when the battle was over, the galaxy would be a little bit safer for good people everywhere. The Titan jumped into hyperspace with a flash of blue light. The stars outside became long streaks of color as the ship moved faster than the speed of light. Captain Jake Morrison felt the familiar tingle in his stomach that came with quantum. "Jumps. Jump successful," reported Sam Taylor from navigation. "We're in hyperspace. Estimated travel time to Zephyria Prime is 68 hours and 12 minutes. Jake nodded. 3 days to prepare for a battle they knew nothing about. He stood up from his command chair and looked around the bridge. Every station was busy with activity. "Ryan, call all department heads to the briefing room in 1 hour. We need to plan for what we might find when we get there." Commander Ryan Bell saluted. "Yes, sir. Should I include the Marine commander?" "Definitely, if the Vraxx are attacking. Cities, we might need ground forces." Jake left the bridge and walked through the corridors of his ship. The Titan was like a small city in space. It had shopping areas, restaurants, a hospital, schools for the children of crew members, and even parks with real trees and grass. But now everything was different. The ship was on full alert. Crew members moved quickly and quietly. Children stayed in their quarters with their parents. Everyone knew they were heading into danger. Jake stopped at the medical bay. Dr. Kate Adams was preparing for casualties. She was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and gentle hands. But Jake knew she had worked in combat zones before and could handle anything. "How are we looking, Doc?" he asked. Kate looked up from her supplies. "We have enough medical equipment for a major battle. I'm setting up emergency surgery rooms and preparing beds for wounded, both human and alien if needed." "Good thinking. What do you know about Zorathian biology?" "They're silicon-based life forms instead of carbon like us. Their blood is like liquid crystal. They heal differently than humans, but I studied their medical records after we became allies. I can treat them if necessary." Jake felt better knowing Kate was ready. He continued his walk through the ship. In the weapons bay, Lieutenant Dan Cross was checking the plasma cannons. Dan was young but very smart about weapons technology. The plasma cannons were new human inventions that could punch through almost any armor. "How do they look?" Jake asked. Dan grinned. "Perfect, sir. Each cannon can fire once every 3 seconds. We have enough power for continuous firing for 6 hours. The railguns are loaded with penetrator rounds. If something gets close enough, we can put holes through anything." "What about the new antimatter torpedoes?" Dan's expression became serious. "We have 12 of them, sir. Each one can destroy a ship the size of a cruiser, but they're experimental. We've never used them in real combat." "Let's hope we don't need to." Jake's next stop was engineering. The heart of the ship was a maze of pipes, cables, and machinery. Amy Stone was everywhere at once, checking systems and making adjustments. "Amy, how's our power situation?" She wiped sweat from her forehead. "The quantum drive is working perfectly. Main reactor is at full power. All backup systems are online. But Captain, if we get into a long fight, we'll drain our energy reserves fast. How long can we fight at full power? Maybe 4 hours of continuous combat. After that, we'll have to choose between weapons and shields." That wasn't very long. Jake hoped the battle would be quick, one way or another. He found the Marine commander, Colonel Tony Garcia, in the armory. Tony was checking weapons with his soldiers. The Marines were Earth's best fighters, trained for combat in space and on alien worlds. "Colonel, what's your assessment?" Tony looked up from a rifle he was inspecting. "My Marines are ready, sir. We have combat armor that can work in any environment. Our weapons can handle most alien threats. But we don't know what the Vraxx look like or how they fight." "That's what worries me, too." Jake returned to the bridge where his senior officers were gathering for the briefing. The main screen showed what little information they had about their destination. "Computer, show us everything we know about the Vraxx," Jake ordered. The ship's AI, which the crew called Oracle, displayed information on the screen. Oracle had a calm female voice that somehow made bad news sound less frightening. "Data on the Vraxx is limited," Oracle said. "They appear to be a nomadic species that travels in large fleets. They attack civilized worlds and consume resources." Before moving on, intelligence reports suggest they are biological in nature but use technology merged with living tissue. "Bioships," Ryan said grimly. "We've heard rumors about those. Ships that grow instead of being built." "Correct," Oracle continued. "Vraxx vessels appear to be alive. They can repair damage by regenerating tissue. They also seem to feed on energy, growing stronger as they consume power from destroyed ships." This was getting worse and worse. An enemy that got stronger by winning battles was every military commander's nightmare. "What about their tactics?" Jake asked. "Unknown. No human force has ever encountered the Vraxx directly. All information comes from survivors of attacked worlds." "How many survivors?" asked Dr. Adams. Oracle paused. "Very few. The Vraxx appear to consume most life forms they encounter." The briefing room went quiet. Everyone was thinking the same thing. They were flying toward an enemy that ate other species. Sir, said Lisa Park quietly, I'm still receiving updates from Zephyria Prime. The situation is getting worse. Show us the latest message. The Zorathian text appeared on screen, followed by the English translation. Jake read it aloud so everyone could hear. Day 3 of the attack. The Vraxx have landed ground forces in 12 major cities. Our people are evacuating to underground shelters, but the creatures are digging them out. The defense fleet is down to 47 ships. We estimate 18 hours before complete planetary conquest. Please, if anyone receives this message, remember us. The room was silent. 47 ships left out of what had probably been hundreds. The Zorathians were dying. How long until we arrive? Jake asked. Sam checked his instruments. 52 hours, sir. Too long. Much too long. Can we go faster? Amy Stone shook her head. The quantum drive is already at maximum safe speed. If we push it harder, we risk a catastrophic failure. Jake made a decision. Define catastrophic failure. The drive could explode, destroying the ship, or it could malfunction and drop us out of hyperspace in the wrong location. We might end up years away from our destination. What are the odds of failure if we increase speed by 20%? Amy thought for a moment. Maybe 30% chance of serious problems? And if we increase speed by 50%? 70% chance we don't make it. Jake looked around the room at his officers. These people had families. They had lives to return to. But they also knew what was right. I'm going to ask for volunteers, he said. Anyone who wants to transfer to a life pod and wait for rescue can do so. We'll drop the pods in normal space where they can be picked up later. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Finally, Ryan Bell stood up. Captain, I speak for everyone here. We came this far together. We'll finish the job together. Even if it means we might not go home. The Zorathians won't go home either if we don't try, said Dr. Adams. One by one, every officer in the room agreed. They would risk everything to save their alien friends. Amy, increase speed by 30%, Jake ordered. Get us there as fast as you can without destroying the ship. Yes, sir. That'll cut our travel time to 40 hours. Still not fast enough, but better. Oracle, run battle simulations. Show us different scenarios for fighting bioships. Everyone, study the results. I want ideas for tactics we haven't tried before. Also, Jake continued, prepare messages to our families back home. If something happens to us, they should know we died trying to do the right thing. The meeting broke up. Officers returned to their stations to prepare for battle. Jake stayed in the briefing room alone, looking at the star charts. Somewhere ahead, people were dying. Evil was winning. The Titan was racing through hyperspace as fast as it could, but was it fast enough? Jake thought about his daughter again. Would she be proud of what he was doing? Would she understand why he risked so much for aliens he barely knew? He hoped so. He hoped that when she was older, she would live in a galaxy where good people helped each other, where bullies didn't win just because they were strong. The Titan shook slightly as Amy pushed the quantum drive harder. Every second brought them closer to the Zorathian homeworld, and closer to the most dangerous battle any human ship had ever fought. The Titan dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Zephyria system. Captain Jake Morrison gripped his chair as the ship shuddered from the emergency exit from quantum space. The main screen flickered and then showed the view ahead. Jake's blood turned cold. The space around Zephyria Prime was full of alien ships. But these weren't like any ships he had ever seen. They looked alive. The Vraxx vessels were black and twisted, like giant insects made of metal and flesh. Some were small and fast. Others were huge monsters with arms that reached out like tentacles. "Dear God," whispered Ryan Bell. The sensors counted the enemy ships. 237 Vraxx vessels surrounded the planet. Most of the Zorathian defense fleet was gone. Jake could see the wreckage of beautiful crystal ships floating in space like broken jewelry. "Sir," called Sam Taylor from navigation. I'm detecting massive energy readings from the planet's surface. The Vraxx are doing something to the world itself. Jake watched the main screen in horror. Zephyria Prime had always been a beautiful world of crystal cities and glowing gardens. Now dark spots were spreading across its surface like a disease. The Vraxx were consuming the planet's life energy. Lisa, are you getting any signals from the Zorathians? Communications officer Lisa Park worked frantically at her station. Yes, sir, but they're very weak. The surviving Zorathian ships are hiding behind the planet's moon. Admiral Kethvar is still alive. Put him through. The screen changed to show a Zorathian face. Admiral Kethvar looked like a tall human made of living crystal, but now his glow was dim and flickering. His beautiful features were cracked with stress and exhaustion. Human vessel, Kethvar said in his musical voice. You came. We did not dare to hope. We received your distress call, Jake replied. What's your situation? Terrible. The Vraxx arrived 6 days ago with over 300 ships. They destroyed most of our fleet in the first attack. Now they feed on our world like parasites. Every hour they grow stronger while we grow weaker. How many ships do you have left? 31. Most are damaged. We have been fighting without rest for days. Jake looked at the tactical display. 31 damaged Zorathian ships and 1 human dreadnought against over 200 enemy vessels. The odds were impossible. Admiral, can your ship still fight? Kethvar's crystal face showed determination. We will fight until we die. But, Captain, you must understand what you face. The Vraxx do not just kill. They consume life itself. Every being they destroy makes them stronger. We understand the risk. No, you do not. Kethvar's voice became urgent. They have taken nearly 1 billion of my people. They have fed on our cities, our ships, our very world. Each death has made them more powerful. They are not the same enemy that attacked us days ago. Ryan Bell leaned toward Jake. Captain, the tactical situation is hopeless. We should evacuate what civilians we can and retreat. Jake understood Ryan's thinking. It was logical, smart, but it was also wrong. Negative. We didn't come this far to run away. On the screen, Kethvar looked surprised. Captain, even if you had 10 ships like yours, you could not defeat them now. They have grown too strong. Maybe, Jake said. But humans have a saying. It's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog. The Zorathian admiral looked confused by the human expression. It means we don't. Give up, Jake explained. Admiral, gather your ships. We're going to attack. Attack? Kethvar sounded shocked. But how? Jake turned to his crew. Oracle, analyze the Vraxx formation. Look for weaknesses. The ship's AI studied the enemy positions. The Vraxx appear to be organized around 3 large command vessels. These bioships are coordinating the smaller attack craft. If the command ships were destroyed, the others might become confused. Distance to the nearest command ship, 400,000 kilometers. That was close range for space combat. The Titan would have to fly through the entire enemy fleet to reach the target. Weapons status? Jake asked. Lieutenant Dan Cross checked his systems. All plasma cannons? Ready. Railguns loaded. Antimatter torpedoes armed. Shields? Full power, reported Amy Stone from engineering. Jake made his decision. All hands, this is the captain. We are about to engage a superior enemy force to defend our allies. Every person on this ship volunteered for this mission. Now we're going to show the galaxy what humans do when good people are in danger. He paused and looked around the bridge. The Zorathians shared their technology with us because they believed in friendship. They're dying because they chose peace over war. Today we fight so that peaceful people everywhere can live without fear. Jake sat down in his command chair. Helm, take us in. Full speed. The Titan turned toward the enemy fleet and accelerated. The massive Dreadnought was like a sword cutting through space. The Vraxx noticed them immediately. The alien bioships began moving to intercept. Jake could see them on the screen, twisting and writhing like living nightmares. "First contact in 30 seconds, Sam reported. Jake opened a channel to the Zorathian survivors. "Admiral Kethvar, follow us in. Target the small ships while we go for the command vessel." "Understood, Captain. May the light guide you." The first Vraxx ships reached weapons range. They were small and fast, shaped like flying insects with razor-sharp wings. But they made a mistake. They attacked one at a time instead of all together. "Fire," Jake ordered. The Titan's plasma cannons spoke with voices of thunder. Brilliant beams of energy reached out and touched the alien ships. The Vraxx vessels exploded in balls of fire and strange green fluid. "Direct hits," Dan Cross reported. 4 enemy ships destroyed, but more were coming, many more. The Vraxx swarmed around the Titan like angry bees. Their weapons were different from anything humans had seen before. Instead of energy beams or missiles, they fired living projectiles that tried to burrow into the ship's hull. "Hull breach. On deck 7, Amy called out. "Something is eating through the armor. Damage control teams respond," Ryan ordered. The Titan kept fighting as it flew deeper into the enemy fleet. The ship's railguns fired solid metal slugs at incredible speed. Each shot punched completely through a Vraxx vessel and often hit another ship behind it. But for every enemy ship they destroyed, 2 more took its place. "Captain," called Lisa Park, "the Zorathian ships are engaging the enemy. Admiral Kethvar is leading them in a flanking attack." On the tactical display, Jake could see the surviving Zorathian vessels moving like a school of crystal fish. They were outnumbered 10-1, but they fought with desperate courage. One of the Zorathian ships exploded as 3 Vraxx vessels surrounded it. Then another. The beautiful crystal craft were dying to give the Titan a chance. "We have to reach that command ship," Jake said grimly. The Vraxx command vessel was a monster. It was over a mile long and covered in what looked like living armor. Tentacle-like weapons sprouted from its surface. As Jake watched, it grabbed a piece of wreckage from a destroyed Zorathian ship and seemed to absorb it. "The thing is feeding," Ryan said with disgust. "Not for much longer. Dan, prepare the antimatter torpedoes." "Sir, we'll have to get very close. Those bioships have some kind of defense against long-range weapons." Jake nodded. He had noticed that too. The Vraxx ships seemed to absorb or deflect energy weapons fired from far away. But up close, the Titan's guns were punching through their defenses. "How close do we need to be?" "Less than 50 kilometers for a guaranteed hit." 50 kilometers was almost point-blank range in space combat. The Titan would have to fly right up to the monster and fire the torpedo into its face. "Can we survive getting that close?" Amy Stone's voice came over the intercom from engineering. "Hull integrity is down to 60%. We're taking a beating, but the ship will hold together." "For how long?" "Maybe 20 minutes of this kind of punishment." 20 minutes. They had to destroy the command ship in 20 minutes, or the Titan would be torn apart. "All power to forward shields," Jake ordered. "We're going straight at that thing." The Titan turned toward the Vraxx command vessel and accelerated. The massive Dreadnought was battered and scarred, but it kept fighting. Human engineering and human determination were being tested against an alien nightmare. More Vraxx ships moved to block their path. These were bigger than the first attackers, with thicker armor and more powerful weapons. They fired streams of acid that ate through metal and living projectiles that tried to infect the ship's systems. "Multiple hull breaches," Amy reported. "We're losing atmosphere on 6 decks." "Seal the damaged sections," Ryan ordered. The ship shook as a Vraxx biomissile exploded against the shields. The lights flickered and came back on. "Shields down to 40%, called the shield operator. Jake watched the distance counter tick down. 100 kilometers to the command ship. 90. 80. A massive Vraxx interceptor moved to block their path. It was shaped like a giant rayfish with wings made of living metal. Energy crackled along its surface. "It's charging some kind of weapon," Dan warned. "Fire everything we have at it." The Titan's guns concentrated on the interceptor. Plasma beams and railgun slugs hammered the alien ship, but it kept coming, absorbing damage that should have destroyed it. 60 kilometers, Sam reported. The Vraxx interceptor fired. A beam of pure darkness shot from its mouth and hit the Titan's forward shields. The energy field collapsed, and the beam kept going, burning a hole through the ship's armor. "Direct hit to the forward hull," Amy called out. "We've lost decks, 1 through 3. "Keep going," Jake ordered. 50 kilometers. Jake could see the Vraxx command ship filling the main screen. It was horrible and beautiful at the same time. The living armor pulsed with stolen energy. Tentacles reached out toward them like the arms of a giant octopus. "Fire antimatter torpedoes," Jake commanded. 2 brilliant points of light shot from the Titan's forward tubes. The torpedoes streaked toward the command ship at incredible speed. The Vraxx monster tried to defend itself. Tentacles whipped through space, trying to intercept the torpedoes. Energy fields flickered around its hull, but the torpedoes were too fast and too close. They struck the command ship's center and disappeared inside its living armor. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Vraxx command vessel exploded from the inside out. The explosion of the first Vraxx command ship lit up space like a new star. Captain Jake Morrison watched as the massive biovessel tore itself apart from within. Strange green fire erupted from its wounds as the creature died. But the victory was short-lived. "Captain," called Lisa Park urgently, "the other Vraxx ships aren't retreating. They're getting more aggressive." Jake looked at the tactical display and felt his heart sink. Instead of becoming confused without their leader, the remaining Vraxx were attacking with increased fury. The smaller ships swarmed toward the Titan like angry insects. "They're not like normal military forces," observed Ryan Bell. "Destroying the command ship just made them mad." The Titan shook as enemy fire hammered its damaged hull. Sparks flew from control panels as the ship's systems strained under the assault. "Hull integrity down to 30%, Amy Stone reported from engineering. "We can't take much more of this." Jake had to make a choice. They could try to retreat and save the ship, or press the attack against impossible odds. He thought about the Zorathian civilians hiding in underground shelters while monsters dug them out. "Oracle, how many Vraxx command ships are left?" 2. "Large vessels remain, Captain. One is near the planet's north pole. The other is positioned above the main Zorathian city. Which one is closer? The vessel above the city is 800,000 kilometers away. However, it appears to be the largest and most heavily defended." Of course it was. The Vraxx had put their strongest ship where it could do the most damage to civilian populations. "That's our target," Jake decided. "If we can destroy it, maybe we can save some of the people still alive down there." "Sir," Ryan said quietly, "the ship won't survive another attack run like that. We're barely holding together now." Jake looked around the bridge. His crew was exhausted and scared, but they were still at their posts. These people had followed him across 17 light years to fight monsters they had never seen before. "I know," he said, "but we didn't come here to survive. We came here to win." The Titan turned toward the second command ship, leaving a trail of debris and leaking atmosphere. The massive Dreadnought looked like a wounded animal, but it kept fighting. "Lisa, contact Admiral Kethvar. What's his status?" The communications officer worked at her damaged console. "I'm reading 18 Zorathian ships still active. They're in bad shape, but still fighting." The image of Admiral Kethvar appeared on the screen. The Zorathian leader looked even dimmer than before. Cracks had spread across his crystal features, and his inner light was fading. "Captain Morrison," Kethvar said weakly, "your attack succeeded, The destruction of the command ship has given us hope, but there are still too many enemy vessels. We're going after the second command ship, Jake told him. The one above your capital city. Kethvar's eyes widened. That is the largest of their vessels. It has been feeding on our people for days. The creature is immensely powerful now. Then, we'd better hurry before it gets any stronger. The Zorathian admiral was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke with new determination. My remaining ships will join your attack. We may not survive, but our people will know we died fighting beside our human friends. Jake felt a surge of respect for the alien commander. Even facing certain death, Kethvar was thinking about honor and friendship. Admiral, I have a different plan. Your ships are faster than mine. I want you to attack the smaller Vraxx vessels and keep them busy. The Titan will go straight for the command ship. You mean to fight the monster alone? That's exactly what I mean. The plan was insane, but it was their only chance. The Titan was too damaged to fight through another swarm of enemy ships. But maybe, just maybe, it could survive long enough to get close to the command ship. All hands, this is the captain, Jake announced over the ship's intercom. We are beginning our final attack. Every person who wants to can evacuate to the escape pods. You've already done more than anyone could ask. Jake waited to see if anyone would leave. Nobody did. In that case, he continued, let's go finish this job. The Titan accelerated toward the second Vraxx command ship. This monster was even larger than the first one. It hung in space above the Zorathian capital like a nightmare made real. Its bio-armor pulsed with the energy it had stolen from the dying city below. As they got closer, Jake could see the creature's true size. It was nearly 2 miles long and covered in weapons that looked like living things. Tentacles thick as subway trains writhed around its hull. Eyes the size of buildings watched their approach. That thing is looking at us, whispered Sam Taylor. He was right. The command ship wasn't just a vessel. It was alive and intelligent. Jake could feel its attention focused on the Titan like the gaze of a predator. Distance to target? Jake asked. 600,000 kilometers in closing. The Vraxx swarm moved to intercept them. But Admiral Kethvar's ships struck first. The remaining Zorathian vessels dove into the enemy formation like crystal arrows. Their weapons were weaker than human guns, but they fought with the fury of people defending their homes. The Zorathians are drawing them off, Ryan reported. Most of the small ships are chasing them, but not all of them. A dozen large Vraxx interceptors still blocked the Titan's path. These weren't the small, fast ships they had fought before. These were heavy combatants with thick armor and massive weapons. All weapons, concentrate fire on the lead interceptor, Jake ordered. The Titan's remaining guns spoke as one voice. Plasma beams and railgun slugs hammered the enemy ship. But the Vraxx vessel absorbed the damage and kept coming. Its bio-armor healed almost as fast as the weapons could hurt it. It's regenerating, Dan Cross said in amazement. The thing is healing itself. The interceptor fired back with a weapon that looked like a giant mouth full of teeth. Energy bullets shot from the creature's maw and peppered the Titan's hull. More hull breaches, Amy reported. We're losing structural integrity. Jake watched the range counter tick down. 400,000 kilometers. 300. The command ship was getting bigger on the screen, filling more and more of the view. Another interceptor joined the attack. Then another. The Titan was fighting 3 enemies at once while flying straight toward the largest monster any human had ever seen. Captain, called the damage control officer. We've lost main power to decks 4 through 8. Emergency power. Only. Can we still fight? For now, yes, sir. But one more major hit and we'll lose life support. Jake nodded grimly. They were flying apart piece by piece, but they were still flying. 200,000 kilometers to target. The second command ship began to move. The massive creature turned its attention away from the planet below and focused on the approaching human vessel. Tentacles reached out across space like the arms of an angry god. "It's coming toward us," Sam said with fear in his voice. "Good," Jake replied. "That means we don't have to chase it." The two ships rushed toward each other on a collision course. The Titan was barely holding together, leaking air and trailing debris. The Vraxx monster was undamaged and full of stolen energy. 100,000 kilometers. Jake could see individual details on the command ship's hull now. The bio-armor wasn't just alive, it was made from the bodies of creatures the Vraxx had consumed. He could see faces pressed against the surface, the remains of beings that had been absorbed into the monster's structure. Some of those faces looked Zorathian. 50,000 kilometers. The command ship's main weapon began to charge. It was some kind of energy cannon built into the creature's mouth. Power gathered there like ball lightning, crackling with the life force of a billion murdered beings. "It's about to fire," Dan warned. "Amy, transfer all remaining power to forward shields." "Sir, that will shut down our weapons." "Do it anyway." The Titan's guns went silent as every bit of energy went to the shields. The blue energy field in front of the ship glowed brighter than ever before. The Vraxx command ship fired. A beam of pure death shot across space and struck the Titan's shields. The energy field held for exactly 3 seconds, then collapsed. The beam punched through the ship's armor like it was paper. The Titan's forward section exploded. Decks 1 through 5 were gone in an instant. The bridge shook so hard that crew members were thrown from their stations. "Forward hull destroyed," Amy's voice came weakly over the intercom. "We've lost the main computer core." 20,000 kilometers, Sam gasped from the floor where he had fallen. Jake pulled himself back into his command chair. The main screen was cracked, but it still showed the Vraxx monster rushing toward them. "Dan, do we have any weapons left?" "The aft missile tubes are still functional. We have 4 antimatter torpedoes remaining. Load them all. Set for maximum. Yield." "Sir, if we fire them this close, the explosion will destroy us too." Jake looked around the ruined bridge. Half his crew was injured. The ship was falling apart. They had maybe minutes left before complete structural failure. "I know," he said quietly, "but that thing will keep killing innocent people if we don't stop it here." Ryan Bell understood first. "You mean to ram it?" "That's exactly what I mean. We can't win a normal battle anymore, but we can make sure that monster doesn't hurt anyone else." The crew looked at each other. They had families waiting at home, children who would never see their parents again. But they also had something more important than their own lives. They had a job to finish. "All hands," Jake announced. "Prepare for ramming speed. We're going to end this." The Titan's remaining engines roared to life one last time. The battered Dreadnought accelerated directly toward the Vraxx command ship's center. 10,000 kilometers! The monster realized what the humans were doing. Its tentacles thrashed wildly as it tried to change course, but it was too massive to turn quickly. 5,000 kilometers. Jake could see the creature's eyes staring at him through the view screen. There was intelligence there, and something like fear. "Fire all remaining torpedoes," Jake ordered. 4 points of brilliant light shot from the Titan's aft tubes and streaked toward the command ship. At point-blank range, there was no way to miss. "All crew to emergency stations," Jake called out. "This is going to hurt." The antimatter torpedoes struck the Vraxx command ship just as the Titan's bow touched its bio-armor hull. The explosion lit up half the solar system. Captain Jake Morrison woke up in complete darkness. His head felt like someone had hit it with a hammer. He tried to move and discovered he was floating in zero gravity. The artificial gravity generators must have failed. "Computer," he called, out weakly. "Lights." Nothing happened. Emergency power must be gone too. Jake fumbled for the emergency flashlight clipped to his belt. The small beam of light revealed a bridge that looked like a war zone. Cables hung from the ceiling like broken spiderwebs. Control panels were dark and dead. Pieces of debris floated everywhere. "Anyone alive?" Jake called out. A groan came from his left. Jake pushed off a wall and floated toward the sound. He found Ryan Bell trapped under a fallen beam, blood on his forehead but conscious. "Captain," Ryan said weakly. "Did we get it?" Jake looked around. for a working display screen. He found one small monitor that still had power. The view outside showed empty space filled with debris. "I think so," Jake said. "I don't see any Vraxx ships." One by one, other crew members began to stir. Lisa Park had a broken arm, but was alive. Sam Taylor was unconscious but breathing. Half the bridge crew was missing, probably thrown into other sections when the ship broke apart. Jake activated his emergency communicator. "All stations, report status." Amy Stone's voice crackled over the radio from engineering. "Main reactor is offline. Backup power at 5% and falling. Hull breaches on every deck. Captain, we're in bad shape." "How bad?" "We have maybe 6 hours of life support left. The ship is in 3 pieces held together by emergency cables. We're not going anywhere under our own power." Jake closed his eyes. They had won the battle but lost the ship, and probably their lives. "Medical Bay, report." Dr. Kate Adams answered after a long pause. "Sick Bay is destroyed. I'm treating wounded in Cargo Bay 2. We have 37 serious injuries and 12 confirmed dead. 12 good people who would never go home to their families." Jake felt the weight of command crushing down on him. "Lisa, can you reach Admiral Kethavar?" The communications officer worked at her damaged console with one good arm. "I'm trying, sir. Most of our communications array is gone." After several minutes, she managed to establish contact. Admiral Kethavar's image appeared on the small working screen. The Zorathian leader looked even more damaged than before, with deep cracks across his crystal features. "Captain Morrison," Kethavar said with obvious relief, "you survived. We feared the worst when your ship disappeared in the explosion." "What's your status, Admiral?" 8 of my ships remain functional. We are searching for survivors and helping with evacuation. The Vraxx fleet is in complete disarray. Most of their ships fled when you destroyed the second command vessel." Jake felt a spark of hope. "They're retreating?" "Yes. Without their command ships, they cannot coordinate their attacks. The smaller vessels are scattering in all directions. The immediate threat to my world is over." "What about your people?" Kethavar's inner light dimmed further. "The casualties are extensive. Nearly 2 billion of my people are dead. Entire cities have been consumed, but thanks to your sacrifice, the survivors will live." 2 billion dead. The number was so large, Jake could barely understand it, but it could have been worse. Without the Titan's intervention, the entire Zorathian race would have been extinct. "Admiral, we need help. Our ship is crippled and we're running out of life support." "Of course, Captain. My remaining vessels are already moving to assist you. We will transfer your wounded to our medical ships and provide emergency supplies." Over the next few hours, Zorathian rescue ships carefully approached the broken Titan. The human Dreadnought had been split into 3 sections by the massive explosion. Only the center part still had atmosphere. Jake floated through the ruined corridors of his ship, checking on his crew. In Cargo Bay 2, Dr. Adams was treating the wounded with help from Zorathian medics. The aliens worked with gentle efficiency, their crystal hands glowing as they used their healing technology. "How are they doing, Doc?" Jake asked. Kate looked, up from a patient. "Better than expected. The Zorathian medical techniques are amazing. They're healing injuries that would have been fatal with our technology." One of the Zorathian medics approached Jake. She was smaller than Admiral Kethavar, with silver light flowing through her transparent skin. "Captain Morrison," she said in musical English, "I am Healer Silthara. Your crew fought bravely. We will do everything possible to save them." "Thank you," Jake replied. "What about the crew members who didn't make it?" "We will honor them according to human customs. Their sacrifice will be remembered for as long as Zorathian children learn history." Jake nodded gratefully. At least his people would be remembered. Over the following days, more help arrived. Zorathian engineering ships worked to stabilize the Titan's wreckage. They couldn't repair the massive damage, but they could keep the life support running and prevent the sections from drifting apart. A week later, Admiral Keth Var requested a meeting with Jake in what was left of the Titans' briefing room. The Zorathian leader looked better now, his cracks beginning to heal and his inner light growing stronger. "Captain," Keth Var began, "I have news from both our governments. Earth Command has sent a rescue fleet to bring you home. They should arrive in 10 days. "That's good news," Jake said. "What about your world?" "The damage is severe, but we will rebuild. More importantly, the Galactic Council has taken notice of recent events. Your actions here have changed everything." "How so?" Keth Var activated a holographic display showing a map of local space. "For years, the civilized species have lived in fear of the Vraxx. Whenever they attacked, we evacuated and hoped they would move on. No one ever fought back effectively." "Until now," Jake said. "Exactly. You proved that the Vraxx can be defeated. More than that, you showed that someone is willing to stand up to them. The Council has voted to form a joint defense force. Humans will be invited to lead it." Jake was surprised. "Earth barely has contact with most alien species. Why would they trust us to lead anything?" "Because you came when we called for help," Keth Var said simply. "You risked everything for people you barely knew. That is the kind of leadership the galaxy needs." The rescue fleet from Earth arrived right on schedule. Jake watched from a Zorathian medical ship as human vessels approached the wreckage of the Titan. The sight of ships from home made his throat tight with emotion. The evacuation took 2 days. Every surviving crew member was transferred to the rescue ships for the journey home. But before they left, there was one final ceremony. Admiral Keth Var and the human fleet commander, Admiral Sarah Johnson, met aboard the rescue flagship. Jake was there, too, along with representatives from several other alien governments who had come to witness the event. "Today," Admiral Keth Var announced, "we establish a new alliance. Humans and Zorathians will stand together against those who threaten peaceful civilizations. This partnership is sealed with the shared blood of heroes." He gestured toward a memorial display showing the faces of the 12 crew members who had died in the battle. Their names were inscribed in both English and Zorathian script. "These brave humans gave their lives so that my people could live," Keth Var continued. "Their sacrifice will never be forgotten. From this day forward, any human ship will find safe harbor in Zorathian space. Any human in need will be helped as family." Admiral Johnson stepped forward. "And any threat to the Zorathian people will be considered a threat to Earth. We stand together now and always." The ceremony was broadcast across dozens of worlds. Within hours, other species were requesting to join the new alliance. The Vraxx attack had terrified everyone, but humanity's response had given them hope. On the journey home, Jake spent a lot of time thinking about what had happened. They had saved the Zorathians, but at a terrible cost. The Titan was destroyed. Good people were dead. Families would grieve. But something important had been accomplished, too. The galaxy was a little bit safer now. Bullies like the Vraxx would face organized resistance instead of scattered, frightened victims. Dr. Adams found Jake in the observation lounge of the rescue ship staring out at the stars. "Penny for your thoughts, Captain?" Jake smiled at the old expression. "Just thinking about the price of doing the right thing." "It's always expensive," Kate agreed, "but the cost of doing nothing is usually higher." "Tell that to the families of the people we lost." Kate sat down beside him. "Jake, I've been a military doctor for 20 years. I've seen good people die for bad reasons, and bad people live for no reason at all. But this time, good people died for the best possible reason. They died protecting innocent civilians from monsters. Does that make it easier? No, but it makes it meaningful." A few days later, they reached Earth orbit. Jake looked down at his blue-green homeworld and felt a complex mix of emotions. He was glad to be home, but he was already thinking about what came next. The Vraxx were still out there somewhere. Other peaceful species might need help. The new alliance would need ships and crews willing to stand up to evil. Admiral Johnson called him to her ready room before they landed. "Jake, I have an offer for you. Earth Command wants you to head up the new Galactic Defense Force. We're building bigger ships and training new crews. We need someone with combat experience against the Vraxx." Jake thought about his daughter waiting for him on Earth. She would be graduating soon and had already applied to the Space Academy. Maybe it was time for the next generation to take over. But then he thought about other worlds like Zephyria Prime. Other peaceful people who might face extinction if no one stood up for them. "I'll need a good crew," he said finally. "Admiral," Johnson smiled. "I thought you might say that. How many of the Titan survivors want to volunteer for another mission?" Jake didn't have to think about that answer. "All of them." 6 months later, the UES Defiant launched from Earth's orbital shipyards. It was bigger than the Titan and carried the most advanced weapons humanity had ever built. The crew was made up of volunteers from a dozen different species, all united by the belief that good people should help each other. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his new ship and looked out at the stars. Somewhere in that vast darkness, the Vraxx were planning their next attack. Other predator species were watching to see if the new alliance would really stand up to threats. They would find out soon enough. "All stations report ready, Captain," announced his new first officer, Commander Lisa Park. Her arm had healed completely thanks to Zorathian medical technology. "Very good. Helm, set course for the Vega system. The colonists there reported unusual ship movements last week." "Course laid in, sir." Jake sat in his command chair and felt the familiar anticipation of heading into the unknown. They had proved that humans would fight for their friends. Now they had to prove they could keep fighting for as long as necessary. "Take us out," he ordered. The Defiant jumped to hyperspace, carrying its crew toward whatever dangers waited in the galaxy. Behind them, Earth continued its slow rotation, a blue jewel in the darkness where children played safely because good people were willing to stand guard against the night. And in crystal cities on a distant world, Zorathian parents told their children stories about the day human heroes came screaming across the black to save them from monsters. The galaxy was a dangerous place, but it was a little bit safer now because someone cared enough to fight for what was right.